If politics were a card game, Vladimir Putin would be holding all the best cards, and his ultimate trump card Donald Trump himself. The US president has often praised Putin, repeated Russian talking points, and even hinted at future meetings between the two. Just listen to this.
I've had very good talks with Putin, and I've had not such good talks with Ukraine. They don't have any cards, but they play it tough. A dictator without elections. Zelensky better move fast, or he's not going to have a country left. Got to move fast, because that war is going in the wrong direction. In the meantime, we're successfully negotiating an end to the war with Russia, something I'll admit that only Trump is going to be able to do in the Trump administration. We're going to be able to do it. I think Putin even admitted that.
First, let's set the stage. Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin have always had a surprisingly warm relationship. During the 2016 campaign, Trump openly praised Putin. And when Trump won the presidency, Putin was one of the first world leaders to congratulate him. This connection continued in 2018. The two leaders held a summit, even as questions swirled about Russian interference in the 2016 US election. The FBI had already concluded that Moscow meddled in the election, but after meeting Putin, Trump dismissed those claims. In fact, he sided with Putin over his own intelligence agencies.
My people came to me, Dan Coates came to me, and some others. They said they think it's Russia. I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this, I don't see any reason why it would be, but I really do want to see the server. But I have confidence in both parties.
This closeness between Trump and Putin isn't new, but it raises a big question. Why does Trump like Putin so much? Here are 6 theories explaining why Trump likes Putin so much. One of the most talked about theories is that Trump colluded with Russia, and Putin helped him win the 2016 US presidential election. This theory gained traction after US intelligence agencies confirmed that Russia had interfered in the election through hacking, social media manipulation, and spreading disinformation. The FBI and the US Justice Department launched a nearly 2-year investigation led by Special Counsel Robert Mueller. The Mueller report, released in 2019, found that Russia did interfere in the election to benefit Trump's campaign. However, it did not establish that Trump or his team directly conspired or coordinated with Russia. Despite the lack of evidence for direct collusion, the investigation revealed multiple contacts between Trump associates and Russian officials. For example, Trump's former campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, shared polling data with a Russian-linked operative. Still, no smoking gun was found to prove a formal agreement. Critics of the investigation argue that the FBI acted too hastily in launching the probe, citing flaws in the process. But one thing is clear, while the Mueller report didn't prove collusion, it didn't fully exonerate Trump either. In the end, there was no proof of Russian meddling with 2016 presidential election. Another popular theory is that Putin possesses compromising material on Trump, something that could be used to influence or control him. This idea gained widespread attention in 2017 when a former British spy, Christopher Steele, published a controversial dossier. The dossier alleged that Trump had deep ties to Moscow and even suggested that Russia had gathered compromising information on him during his visits to the country. Interestingly, the dossier was funded by Trump's political opponent, Hillary Clinton, through her campaign. However, the dossier was later discredited. Many of its claims were found to be unverified or outright false. Despite this, the idea that Putin might have leverage over Trump has persisted. Critics argue that Trump's reluctance to criticize Putin, even when faced with evidence of Russian interference, fuels these suspicions. Whether there's any truth to this theory remains unclear, but it continues to be a topic of speculation. As strange as it may sound, this theory suggests that Trump is drawn to authoritarian leaders, those who project strength, control, and dominance, and when you look at his relationships with other world leaders, the pattern becomes hard to ignore. Trump has cultivated close ties with figures like Xi Jinping of China, Recep Tayyip Erdogan of Turkey, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, and, of course, Vladimir Putin of Russia. These leaders are known for their strongman personas and often rule with an iron fist. Trump himself has shown autocratic tendencies, from his admiration for military parades to his frequent attacks on democratic institutions like the press and the judiciary. This has led some to believe that he admires leaders who embody similar qualities, those who prioritize power over process and loyalty over dissent. In Putin, Trump may see a reflection of his own ideals, a leader who commands respect, takes decisive action, and doesn't shy away from controversy. Whether this is a conscious admiration or simply a shared worldview, it's a theory that adds another layer to their unusual bond. The Cold War was one of the most defining conflicts of the 20th century, a decades-long struggle between the United States and the Soviet Union, capitalism versus communism. This era created deep-rooted distrust toward Moscow in the US, a sentiment that persisted even after the Cold War ended. Many senior US politicians lived through this period and rose through the ranks during the Cold War. For them, an anti-Russia stance became almost second nature, shaping their policies and worldview. But Donald Trump is different. While he's the same age as many of these politicians, he wasn't part of the political establishment during the Cold War. Instead, he was a businessman, focused on deals and profits rather than ideological battles. As a result, Trump's approach to Russia isn't colored by the same historical baggage. He doesn't see Russia as an eternal enemy but rather as a potential partner, a country he can negotiate with and even befriend. This lack of Cold War-era bias might explain why Trump is more open to building a relationship with Putin, even as others remain wary. Donald Trump is often described as a pragmatist, someone who understands what's possible and what's not. When it comes to Russia, this mindset might explain his approach. Russia is a $2 trillion economy with the largest nuclear arsenal on the planet. It's also the biggest country by land size, making it a key player in global affairs. Whether it's arms control, climate change, supply chain resilience, or energy security, many of the world's biggest challenges cannot be addressed without involving Russia. Trump likely recognizes this reality. Instead of viewing Russia as an adversary, he sees it as a necessary partner on the global stage. This pragmatic approach could explain why he's willing to work with Putin, even when others are hesitant. This theory is perhaps the most controversial. It suggests that Trump's admiration for Putin is tied to his business interests in Russia. Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, has claimed that Trump never expected to win the 2016 election. Instead, he allegedly used the campaign to boost his brand and secure deals. One of those deals was a proposed Trump Tower in Moscow, complete with a free penthouse for Putin. While these claims remain unproven, they add fuel to the speculation that Trump's relationship with Putin is driven by more than just politics. All these theories sound plausible, and let's be honest, they make for some pretty juicy gossip. But the truth might be simpler than we think. Putin may face challenges at home, but on the global stage, he's a master at building relationships. From the Arab world to Asia, Africa, and even Europe, Putin has cultivated close ties with some of the most influential leaders. Take, for example, he was very close to Gerhard Schroeder, the former German chancellor. Putin didn't just work with him, he took him on a Christmas sleigh ride and even showed up at his home to celebrate his 60th birthday. He also built a strong bond with Nicolas Sarkozy, the former French president, who visited Moscow after leaving office and publicly defended Putin's actions. And then there's Silvio Berlusconi, Italy's former prime minister, who partied and went hunting with Putin, cementing their friendship in a way only they could. The point is simple, Putin might come across as rough and tough, but he knows how to charm and connect with people. In that sense, Trump's closeness to Putin isn't an exception, it's just another example of Putin's ability to build relationships with leaders across the globe.